you were born and when you were
Well,
born?
I was born in Ogden, Utah, but I don't remember any much until I was 3 years old, and I don't remember much since then. But at that time, we went down to New Mexico to live on a ranch, way out. Way out in the sticks.
All most ranches?
Yeah, of course we had no modern conveniences, like running water or electric lights. And there were no close neighbors. But then, a few years, we moved on down onto a river where we had a farm. Then I began to remember things. I don't remember much about the years up there in that country.
Did you say once that you rode a horse to school?
Yeah, we used to ride horses to school. It was about 2 miles. In the wintertime, we rode horses. When the weather was nice, we walked. We didn't care for too much for riding the horse. It got us there and back too soon.
How far away was the school?
2 miles.
Oh, that's not too far.
No, not too far. But in the wintertime, when it was stormy, a lot of ways.
What was the school like?
It was one room adobe, handmade adobes. We just had one teacher, and she taught all the classes. There were they were from about 18 to sometimes as many as 30 pupils. But after I got up to the 7th and 8th grade, it narrowed down to about 3 or 4 students. They just start dropping out. And when I graduated in 8th grade, I was the only one in 8th grade going to school.
Did you go to school any farther than that? Did you go to high school?
That's the only school I had.
8th grade?
Yeah.
I heard that you were an 8th grade dropout, but
Yeah.
Mom never told me you were the only one in your class.
Yeah, they all the rest of them, there were 2 boys stayed with me up through the 7th grade. And then they left. They didn't come to school for the 8th grade. And then I went to work on the rock farm.
Well, Mom was telling me to ask you about you and your brother going out herding
Sheep.
or something.
Yeah.
And you'd have guns, rifles. You take rifles out.
Oh,
with you and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, we had 22s.
And how old were you?
Well, I was 9 when I started herding sheep. We heard
Sheep aren't
them.
very big ones.
By yourself?
We would, we homesteaded some property 10 or 15 miles from where we had this farm, and it was a little higher country, and we'd take our sheep and cattle up there in the summertime. And I'd herd those sheep until school started.
How old was he? An older brother?
No, he was younger.
brother?
He didn't. Yeah, for the most part, I did it by myself. After he got a little older, he stayed with me for 3 or 4 summers, and I heard them stupid sheep till I was about 15, and then he sold them. And then I worked for cattle from then on. The cattle didn't require all that much attention. We just take them up there and leave them and go on back down on the farm. Go up and ride once in a while, gather them kind of and check them out, brand the calves.
That's pretty unpleasant work.
It's hot work. We didn't mind it. That was the way of life, but it's part of life. I wouldn't want to do it now.
Well, if you didn't have running water, where did you get water?
Well, down on the river, we hauled it from the river in a barrel. I'd just barrel mounted on a sled that we pulled with a team. Dipped it out of the river and poured it in the barrel, and then dipped it out of the barrel and had a bucket of water sitting on a shelf there by the washpan. You know.
That doesn't very fun.
Especially in winter. Sometimes cut a hole in the ice to get the water. Of course, speaking of ice, we did a lot of ice skating in the winter time too. And we didn't have much to do in winter. Feed the cattle. That would take it a couple hours.
How did you keep the house warm?
With wood stoves. In the summertime, we'd go up and cut wood and split it and let it dry through the summer, and then in the fall we'd haul it down and burn it in stoves. Easier to cook with the wood. We had some split up small so it'd go in the cook stove. It was quite a life. Sometimes we'd get together on a Sunday afternoon and ride calves or something like that.
Ride calves?
Yeah, horse races, race our saddle horses. Go swimming, fishing. I'd do a little trapping in the fall after the farm work was done, and for a little while in the fall the weather'd be decent. We'd go up and trap for coyotes. Chase wild horses, that was another diversion. Sometimes we'd get after them, run them around the country.
Catch video?
No, we never did catch one ourselves. The old timers used to catch them. They'd go up when the snow was deep.
Be serious about it.
Yeah, I'd catch one now and then, but they weren't too good at horses.
Yeah, you couldn't really do much with them.
Well, you could train them pretty fair, but we had better horses in later years. My stepdad sent away back to Kentucky and bought a good horse. And he breed him to the mares, and they made good horses. Another thing we used to do, we had a couple of little dogs, of course. We always had one or two of them, and we'd try to hide from them.
Hide from dogs?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really funny because they ain't no way. We'd catch them. We'd just try to sneak away from them, and we'd get sneaked away all right, and we'd run around the ledges and then come back, double back and climb up over the ledge. And pretty soon here to go that little dog. Zip! On by and directed here she'd come back. Look up there. There you are. That billy goat was a constant source of amazement and entertainment.
You had a billy goat when you were a kid?
My brother, that was his pet. He had a pet billy goat. Got it when it was little, and he grew to be a pretty good sized goat. Him and that goat used to wrestle by the hour. It had big long horns. He'd go out there and grab that goat by the horns and yank him right up to him, and that goat would just butt his head, and then he'd find mess around around a nice big bush, and then he'd just walk my brother right into it. He'd hang on and wrestle him around, and they would just they'd even go down. He'd wrestle him around, and just by the hour he entertained himself with that goat. Like I say, if it rained, he went in the tent, and I don't care how you fixed that tent, he went in. Yes, sir. I was laying in there sleeping away one night, and I was sleeping on my tummy. Pretty quick, thump, something hit me right in the middle of the back. Just weighted me down. It's that stupid goat. He'd sleep on the bed if you'd let him.
How big was the tent?
About a 7 by 10, I think it was. 7 feet wide and 10 feet long. Just room enough for a couple of beds in there. My brother and I slept in one, and my mother slept in another one. When it was raining,
Now, why would you be in there?
Because that's the only place we had to sleep.
Didn't you have a house or a cabin or something?
We had a little old cabin about as big as, it wasn't any bigger than a tent, just room enough in there for to cook and eat. By the table in there.
This was on the ranch?
This was on my mother's homestead. It adjoined to my sister's. We had 3 homesteads. My stepfather had one, my mother had one, and my stepsister had one. And they joined. They were kind of a line across there. We had a pretty nice cabin built on the main homestead, which was my stepdad's. It wasn't much. Let's see, it wasn't much bigger than that space there from there to the end of the trailer.
From there?
Yeah, I think it was 14 by 20. It would be just a little bigger than this living room. And it had room for a couple of beds and the table and chairs and the cook stove and the cupboard and a bench for the water bucket and the wash pan. But it was a nice cabin. That's where we stayed in the wintertime when we went up there to trap or ride the cow or whatever. And the way we got our water there, we carried it in buckets for about a mile. That's another thing that kept me thin and trim, was taking a bucket in each hand and going down to the reservoir or over the spring and carrying the buckets of water up to the cabin to use.
One at a time, or two at a time?
Well, one in each hand.
And
About a 2-gallon bucket.
and then you'd make just several trips, or just...
We'd make a trip whenever it was necessary, and we were real conservative with our water.
And bathe very often.
Yeah.
Didn't bathe very
Man, we wouldn't even, we would go up there and be up there a couple, 3 weeks at a time and didn't bathe.
I'd go crazy.
Well,
Not
that
if
was
you're
the way
used
of
to it.
life.
Yeah.
If you're used to it.
Yeah.
scarce.
And when we got down to the, on the river, what we called it, where the farm was, well, of course the river was there, and we had plenty of water, and we could haul it in a 60-gallon barrel. So we were still, and bathed in a wash tub, one of them little round wash tubs. Fill the fire in the heater and stood right up close so you wouldn't freeze in the winter. We spent the most of our time, we just had 2 rooms. Probably 2 rooms about the size of this living room right here. And as I remember, there was a bed in both rooms before it was all over. But one room we slept in and the other one we cooked and ate in.
I think of this trailer is small, but when I thinking of where you grew up,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem small.
Down there we had just kind of hilly and sagebrush, grass, flowers. It was about 5,000 or 6,000 feet elevation. Got quite a bit of snow in the winter up on the ranch, the summer ranch. Just a regular ranch life, except we didn't have all the goodies they got now.
Helicopters.
No modern conveniences at all. Had the coal oil lamps, of course, and wood stoves to heat and to cook on.